Hey, I want to welcome everyone to Inside Out Leadership. I'm your host, Rob Holman, and today I have a very special guest, and not just a guest, but an amazing friend that I've known for nearly 20 years. I know I'm aging myself, but there's no person I'd rather be on this show and in this podcast than David Kiley. You may hear me refer to him as DK or Dave, but it's David Kiley, who some of you already recognize the name, and you will get to know the man, the myth, and the legend as we get to hear DK, his story. And I don't think it's ever been more relevant than now in these times that we live in. So with no further delay, Dave, welcome to Inside Out Leadership.
I'm so happy to reconnect, Rob, and have this opportunity to just go wherever God leads us in this conversation, man. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, total joy and honor. And I thought it would be a good place to start. The temptation for me almost immediately is to dive into your story, which we will get to momentarily, but just even connect some dots for those that don't know of our connection, our relationship that does go back nearly 20 years. You and I are trying to figure it out before the recording. We're like, all right, is it 18? Is it 20? It's been a long time. And at the time we met, I heard about you being the GOAT of wheelchair basketball, one of the most decorated Paralympic athletes ever. And your story really intrigued me. And as I reached out to you and the National Wheelchair Basketball Association at the time, I was like, I got to meet this guy. And as I met you for the first time and got to know you throughout the course of time, what I've admired about you, I'm not even going to wait, Dave, till midway through the end to say this publicly. But what I admired to you very quickly was, of course, you had all these accolades, all these accomplishments, but it was your heart. It was your tender heart, your heart of humility, of who God really created you to be, and using the gifts, the skill sets, the abilities that He'd given you to serve and influence other people in a very positive way. And that formed a friendship that continues to today. So, man, I got to just say this. Thanks for being you. And I don't know if you have anything to say about when we initially met. Be kind, though, to me, because I was just this in my mid-20s, right? And I was this young punk that was passionate, owned a business called Push the Rock at the time, a basketball clothing company. But yeah, what do you remember about those early days of when we first connected?
I remember it very well. You know, you and your brother Scott, and there was an instant connection. You know, both from the side of ball and Push the Rock is still just a tagline of that's attractive to me. You know, and you had this great little idea and this business that you both, you know, really took to another level, and I wanted it to be part of what I was doing with 3-on-3 because I just loved the feel. You had a great vibe in that small business, and I was attracted to it, and I was attracted to by the faith within the company. So it was just kind of a natural thing, you know, and I still have jerseys that have Push the Rock and that dude carrying the rim, you know, so it's still a powerful memory for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, me too. Me too. I still break out once in a while with 3 children, 13, 11, and 6. Once in a while, Dad will break out some of the old school gear. And I will say this too, that my kids still have some gear too. Sometimes I'll break open the old boxes, right, from the basement or from the attic or something like that and say, hey, Dad's got one more pair. I've got one more shirt for you, so don't worry. But talking about going back, your story is an extremely compelling one. And it didn't start with your play where in the National Wheelchair Basketball Association, where you won 6 MVPs, 8 National Wheelchair Basketball Association championships, etc. But it goes back much further than that. You had something when you were a teenager that happened to you that really really changed. And I don't put that, I mean, it changed your life. I mean, sometimes we talk about things that change our lives. This was like your life came to a pretty big screeching halt. Take us into that time when you were just like 19 or even a little bit before, if you want, of what, where your life was around that time and then what happened. Love to hear about that.
Sure, Rob. Well, first of all, it feels like I was born with a basketball in my hands. Ever since I can remember, that was part of me and who I was as a very, very young child. But at that particular time in my teenage years, I was playing for Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, which is just a powerhouse every year in all sports, but particularly football and basketball. And I had a little bit of a rep as a point guard, and had some interest from some colleges, San Jose State, Gonzaga, and then right out of high school, I got hurt. I received a spinal cord injury when a good friend of mine and two cheerleaders went to the mountains of Southern California in Big Bear, and being neophytes in the drinking game, we overdid that, and it skewed my judgment. I went up higher than everybody else with an inner tube that has absolutely no control, and was bumped by another tuber or two tubers on one inner tube, and into the trees, and at high speed, spinning like a top. I hit the tree with my back, and instant, no recollection. I was in shock, and so as I woke up, I'm on a striker frame in San Bernardino County General Hospital, not necessarily a plush little environment, upside down, and being told that I was paralyzed. And everything to that point I had done had been all physical. It definitely required legs, a ball player, and thoughts came through my mind, Rob, like, man, I remember exactly how sand felt at the beach through my toes, and right now I can't feel anything below my waist. So it was a crazy time. I didn't know how to understand it. And I began a process of foxhole prayers. I'd been a little bit disconnected. I'd been real disconnected. Sport and ball was my God, at that time. But so I began, and there were dark times for, coming out of that, the hospital and the rehab, and, it's not something you just snap your fingers and put a smile on your face. If you do that, there's something wrong. You're pretending, you're hiding. I've learned that since, but anyway, so
Dave, could I press you? I want to ask you, so staying in that time where you're trying to let the news of being paralyzed waist down, let it sink in. Okay, my life is going to change. Like, what was that like? Like, how did you begin to come to terms with that? Was it the help of other people? Was it prayer? Was it a combination? Like, what was it for you? If it was certainly a season, I don't know how long that season really went to accept that, and all the mixed emotions along that journey of just acceptance. Like, what was that? Yeah. Like, what were some contributing things?
I didn't accept it, to be quite honest. When I heard it, I was like, wait a minute. I'm going back on past experiences, some hurdles that I had to overcome as even a younger child athlete. I said, this is going to be another one of those where I overcome it. And as it began to sink in, Rob, I can remember telling my mother I was in a rehab hospital for 4 months. They kept you a long time back then. And I told her, I said, Mom, I'd rather die than spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, and of course she immediately started crying, and I felt bad for saying it, but there was some truth to it, because I so did not understand what was happening to me. And so it was a time when I got introduced to ball laying in a hospital bed by this mentor that ended up to be a mentor and a great friend, Ed Owen. And I was like, no way, dude.
Yeah.
I play real ball, not, I didn't tell him that, but I'm thinking it, I was trying to be somewhat nice, but I was like this, no, stop, man. And then I saw him play one day in the courtyard himself, working on ball handling. He was behind the back, 360s, left, right. And I just went, holy bejesus, what in the world? So I had my mind blown seeing that. And that was the seed that I needed to really get direction. It took a little, it just wasn't like that, but I let it marinate to the point where, next thing I knew, I was searching out beach courts in my wheelchair and using it in my recovery mentally. I'd already recovered pretty much physically. I could handle my chair, handle myself, drive, those kind of important things, mobility wise. But, I had to really give credit to the distraction that ball always provided, that safe haven, that place. If you balled out in your life and played, that place where you're just in, it's like meditation, because you're not thinking bad thoughts. You're thinking about your next shot or your next move, anyway. So
it can keep you focused. It can ground you, and the distractions, now you begin to hone in and you're refocused. There's more clarity. There's an anchoring, if you will. I do want to go back, just so this doesn't escape me, Dave, as we continue on your journey as well. But before that, there was a point shortly after your injury, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, where the doctors said a couple things to you about children, having children, and also about the usage of your legs. Take us into that, because I know you so well, and I know this moment between you and God was really important. But I want our listeners, our viewers, to really be brought into that aspect of your story too.
Certainly. And it's really easy to remember, but you do try to stuff it and forget about it. But when I heard, that you wouldn't walk again, that was one thing. But then when I heard and being told that I may not be able to have children, and even at 19, I started even earlier thinking about being a father, and I came to a place where I could handle not walking and running and such, but I just could not get my head around not having children, and I was trying to make deals with God. I was like, God, I don't care about my ability to walk, but I do care about having children. Please, God, let it be your will that I'm able to have kids. And so anyways, there's a whole sport story about how I met my wife, and who agreed to marry me, and I had to put it out there that I might not be able to have children.
Right.
And thank God she's the angel that she's always been, to, you know, then and now. And man, she was pregnant in the first few months of being married. So, you know, hey, doctors, you don't know everything, you know.
That's right.
God drives my bus, and
Yeah.
there you go, you know. And
So you've been married for how long now, and how old are your kids?
I got married in 1979. I met my wife in 78 at a Final Four in Cleveland, Ohio. She was from Nashville, Tennessee, and I have 2 children with her, and now 4 grandchildren.
Come on.
Yeah, man. And I'm the fun doctor, and that's what I was born to do, man, is be that guy with my family. And now at this point in time, I'm able to spend much more family time than when I was competing and filling my goodie basket up with my things, you know, and which I call fodder, you know. It's really about the inside game, you know, and the important things, what you do and who you know, why you do it. To me, it's not about what I lost, it's about what I gained, you know. It's that simple. And I've been inspired by what people call disability, or, you know, the wheelchair or whatever. I've been inspired by limitations that, you know, when you talk about the 70s, there were a lot of perceived limitations that people were trying to get you to accept. And I'm like, no, man. No, I'm not going there, you know.
And that's why that's why you're such a pioneer. I mean that, because if you look at, I mean, just even with what you're sharing on this podcast episode of where things were with disabilities in the 70s as opposed to where we are now, you led the way a lot in that process. I mean, look at your relationship, being a liaison with the NWBA and the NBA. That alone to bring awareness to the skill set, the gifts, the abilities of people. And it's fascinating to me. I mean, I go back and I'm reminded too of, I believe you were the first wheelchair athlete on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Am I correct? Or one of them?
I wasn't on the cover, but I was the first to appear in a centerfold double page
with your kids.
With my 2 kids, and
that's,
you know,
awesome.
I'm it's on my wall. I'm looking at it right now. A very meaningful time. It gave you the wheelchair athlete street cred, you know. It was just that simple. When you got into mainstream kind of magazine like Sports Illustrated, and who I was in between, it was, you know, it was like, I think Reggie Jackson and I forget who the other athlete is, but Curtis Strange. You know, it was insane. So and there was a painting done of that photo, and that sits over our fireplace, and it's, you know, it was a good time.
That is a good time. All right, so we're gonna go back a little bit. You were just someone to come alongside of you to kind of mentor you a little bit, to kind of say, hey, here's what's possible. You would begin to watch his games. I forget, what's his name again?
Ed Owen.
Yeah,
Hall of Famer.
There you go. You begin to check his games out. It sounds like you're being inspired from the inside out. You begin your journey now. Your head's starting to lift at least a little bit. It's a process. And you then start to play. Like, take us by the hand on that one. Like, all right, you start to play more, you start to see what's possible. And then what happens?
Well, this cat was 6'8". He had a beard and had polio, and you know, he was recruiting me. He knew of my past with high school ball, and so, that's a find in our sport when you find somebody that has that kind of experience. But I was in a body jacket. You know, when you have a spinal cord injury, you got to keep everything in place when they fuse it back together. So there's no real bending, twisting going on. But he took me to South Central LA, you know, and his team, the Santa Ana Raiders, were playing the LA Stars. And he puts a jersey on me. And you know, I go into this gym and these cats are fast and afroed out.
Yeah.
And I'm from a protected Southern Orange County environment. You know, I'm like, whoa, man. You know,
eyes wide open on that.
Eyes wide open, you know, and I was only in, I didn't play that much, but I got a mid-range look at a basket, and I think it's the only shot I shot, and I made it. And that was the light bulb moment, you know, that I go, all right, things are gonna be all right now, you know. One basket, that's all it took.
One basket. So then you continue, you know, you're on your hoops journey.
Yep.
How long did it start? How'd you get into Paralympics? Because I'm trying to even connect some of this I know, but some of it I don't. I'm just selfishly like looking for some answers, Dave, because I'm trying to connect more dots with you, because the more that we get to know your story, obviously we get to better know who you are. And that's what we're after today. So when did the Paralympics begin to step into all this?
Well, you know, one, I was on a great team right out of the gate. You know, we didn't lose the entire season until the championship game of the Final Four. And we did that 2 years in a row, and we lost in the final. But by then, you know, people had been paying attention to my game, because I made it, or we made it, to the Final Four, which is the highest level of our sport in the country for national ball. And so in my third year, I was recruited to play on the Paralympic team in Toronto, Canada in 1976. And I was a dual athlete. I was a basketball player who was also involved in track. I ran 4 track events, and Scott, as God's will and grace, you know, I came away with 5 gold medals, the best in the world in 5 different sport, or, you know, 4 track, 1 basketball, and I was the fastest man in the world in a wheelchair.
Now hold on. I gotta stop you here. Now hold on. So you're obviously an incredible athlete. You're awakened now with the possibilities of basketball. You then are showcased, for lack of a better term, in the Paralympics, and not just in one sport, multiple sports, winning multiple gold medals in that first. That just doesn't happen. I don't care who you are.
No.
But yet, DK, what was it about you when that, I'll just use my own term, when that switch went on, being like, okay, now I know what's possible. Now I can go after things that very few people are willing to go after. And you started to go after it. Was it just, now you're just channeled? It's like this live wire is now channeled in the appropriate way, and lights are going on all over the place. Like, what was it? Would you use that term, like a switch went on and all of a sudden you just started going after stuff?
Yeah, I mean, going after it is an understatement. You know, I knew from my days playing 7th, 8th grade ball through modern day and high school ball, I knew what hard work would produce. You know, I needed to be that guy when nobody was watching, you know, developing skills. And to me, you know, I didn't have any intentions of wheelchair racing, you know, but I was in the environment with dudes, Vietnam vets, that they were all going for things, man. And so I got exposed in a way that I went, I think I could do that, you know, and I want to do that. And uh, I had no idea that I would be as successful as occurred in 76. I mean, I kind of knew in basketball, you know, that we were good and we'd have a good chance. We beat Israel in the final. But on the track, you know, I had lost all the way along the way to this one dude, Ray Lewandowski. He was just a legend from Rochester, New York. And nobody touched him in the 100 meters. Nobody. And I had one race and was the fastest man in the world in that 100-meter for the event. So
how do you feel when you beat him and you're the fastest man in the world? Like, what's going through your mind and your heart? Like, I haven't come anywhere close to that one. Let me just,
brother, I didn't even know what I was doing. You know, it's like you would think, what does that feel like? I mean, I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 22 or 23, you know, and I'm still not totally adjusted to my new life even. And so all this is coming at you, you know, but they were really good times, and it means more now than I think it did then, you know, or I can give it more mature credit today. Then, I mean, yeah, ego was kind of out of control, you know, like, wow, what did I just do, you know? And
well, I can only imagine sponsorships and, you know, and relationship with Quickie. I mean, just tons of different things that happened in the earlier days, and really even some of those racial relationships continue in the present day. And then, of course, with the accolades and the influence and stuff, I go back to you having arguably greater influence as time progressed, as it relates to the National Wheelchair Basketball Association, the Paralympic Committee, you know, just you being you. And then now you're Hall of Fame. You're the chairman of the Hall of Fame for the National Wheelchair Basketball Association.
Correct.
So your influence continues to grow and expand. And now it's like a legacy you are, you know, leaving upon the earth, which is just fascinating. Trust me, you ain't going anywhere anytime soon, my brother. And I certainly hope not, because you got a lot more work to do. Here's what I want to do in our few remaining moments. And you've been so gracious to take us into your story and just be real with us and kind of, you know, how that shaped you into the person you are today. We have people listening that are going through the ringer. Whether they're in corporate, they own their own business, they don't know whether to leave their current job and start a new gig, get more involved in their hands dirty in humanitarian and philanthropy work, but they're going through it, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, or all the above. And some could be like, I don't even know if I want to continue living. What advice do you give those people really going through it today that kind of helped you when you were really going through it and has helped you throughout the course of your life? That, you know, be as practical, be as specific as you want to be, whatever, because I know we have people that, not just during COVID times, but certainly things have increased during COVID times, the stress level, the anxiety. What would you say?
Well, you know, that's a big question, you know, and I know from my experience that what I feed grows. You know, if I feed a dark side, or if I feel a limiting side, or you know, or I can't do it side, I'll probably, it'll get bigger. You know, I have always chosen to feed the light. That sounds kind of funny. It's not always like that, but you know, for the most part, I feed what is going to move me or something forward and for helping others, you know. Uh, so positive, you know, as an athlete, Rob, we know how much we depend on positive self-talk,
Yeah.
you know, because when you're defeating yourself internally, inside leadership of self,
Yeah.
the inside game, uh, you know, that's most of the battle, because your your body will follow your mind, you know. And so for those people, it's like, you know, what's your, put one foot in front of the other, you know, stay in some form of action towards becoming a better you, you know, because you don't want to look back, you know. I think I always use the frame of reference is that when I look back, I want to know that, you know, I gave it everything I had, and that I didn't use an excuse like a wheelchair to make me less than, you know. No, it's not going to be that way. I'm involved in so much, and it's been so exciting to be there first, and to be where no one expects you to be. But my belief and my faith, you know, my wife and my family, those are the important things, you know, not the gold medals, not all the accomplishments, um, and who along the way was I able to help. So sometimes we have to get out of self and go and just help somebody else,
Right.
you know, and it can be a simple act. It doesn't have to be this big thing.
You know,
So
I love what you're bringing out, because if it is an inside job, which I know you and I both wholeheartedly agree, it's only to discover or rediscover certain things about ourselves, perhaps our uniqueness, our significance, and how God's made us to be, et cetera, really so that we can get over ourselves. I mean, isn't it wild? Like embracing yourself to get over yourself, to understand that life ain't about you. It ain't about me. It's about other people within our sphere of influence to serve faithfully, to positively influence. That's just wild. Now, I do want to pick up on, so number one, I'm hearing you say that anchored in a belief system, your faith, like for you, your faith, anchored in that. Mindset really does matter. Secondly, and then thirdly, I'm hearing you say your wife, your children, and others that have come alongside of you, because it truly does take a tribe. So can you speak on that just for a minute or two? Like, it does take a tribe, because sometimes we're so down and out. Our mindset might be good, but we could still be somewhat fragile because life happens. And having people in our corner, whether it be family, colleagues at work, team members, strategic partners, whatever the case may be, to actually come, and when you feel weak, they can hold your arms up to say, you feel this way, but you know what? I'm not going to let the battle be lost. I'm here with you. Like, speak to just a minute or two on that.
right. All right. Well, first, you know, when we've got to kind of save ourselves from ourselves, you know, in my case, my ego never tells the truth. And I have to realize that, you know, I'm either lesser than or I'm more than. And rarely and I got to reel myself back into just being me. But as a point guard all my life, one of my greatest strengths was assembling a team and or making a team better. And the importance of team, whether it's, you know, family or it's corporate, it's important when you have the power of a team of people, a village, a tribe, whatever we're going to call it, power just starts to multiply. And I've never been able to do anything by myself. I got to make a decision, but it usually always meant, okay, who am I going to get to help me? And it's about that, Rob, just being able to make others better, and in turn you receive.
So good. No, it's so good. All right, as our time's coming to a close, I could spend the next 2 hours and just begin to scratch the surface. All right, but I gotta say this. All right, so if you were to wrap your arms around everything that we discussed today, right? How we connected, your story, and how it changed things in your life, and what it took for that light switch to go on and for you to really begin to go after things. And then just really ending at the point, like with getting practical mindset, it takes a tribe, everything. Wrap your arms around that entire conversation. Now we're bringing it in. You're now entering into the best years of your life. Okay. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. The best books that were ever written, the best movies that were ever made were by those after the age of 65. So where's this all lead, DK? Like, what are you up to today? Let us know, like, what you're up to, what jazzes you up and overjoys you more than anything in the world. Let us in. And I figured that'd be a great way to kind of end our time together.
Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, man, because it's pretty crazy. I'm in the 19th year of running invitational 3-on-3 tournaments in 3 different cities. We're serving veterans, women, and we're creating really viable money purses for athletes to win. And that's just on fire. I can't contain it. I mean, other cities want it. Japan wants it. And it's just me and another marketing person and running a little show doing powerful things. So that's going on. And it's just getting through that year to year. And the Hall of Fame, now I find myself, I want to change the culture within a 3,000 member organization to value and respect our past. And that's going to take an incredible social media strategy to keep it in front of the young players' face about the importance and the responsibility to respect the past. And we got off to a great start in Wichita with the first induction of that. We had red carpet interviews with, we just model what's going on around you, then there's this, my story, everybody's been after for years. Oh, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And, that's a lot of work. You probably well know.
I do.
Yeah. And I just ordered yours, by the way, and I can't wait to read it.
Awesome.
One of your 2, I think. Do you have 2?
Great. Yeah, my 3rd just came out a couple months ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Hey, if this is any
I've been at this book thing for the past couple of years, and I'm taking my time. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not driven to throw an inspirational story out. Yeah. If people are inspired, that's great. But, it's really going to be quite real, quite raw. And it's about the inside game more than it is about the accomplishments. It's about where God showed his grace and his will in my life. And so anyways, I don't know what's next, man, because I keep saying yes to things. That's an opportunity. And my wife looks at me like, really? Really? Yeah. So I don't know, Rob, but if I keep my heart open and stay out of my head, things are gonna happen.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say thanks for being you, man. It's been such a joy to reconnect over the course of so many years. We'll eventually figure out how many years it's been. I think we both can agree it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
But like I said, no better person to have on this season 2 to talk about their story, to talk about their life than you. Truly you're a gift in my life and a gift to so many other people all over the planet, in and through wheelchair sports, but everyone that has benefited through you being a pioneer and really saying yes to God's will in your life and having the influence that you've had and continue to have. You are truly leaving a legacy that will leave a ripple effect for future generations. So DK, from the bottom of my heart, brother, appreciate you big time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Let's stay in touch.
Sounds good for sure. Blessings.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.